Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So I'm going to start today with doing a present tense storytelling to bring you all to the present moment with me, inshallah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I'm 6 years old. I live in Kunduz, Afghanistan. It's Eid today. And I'm so excited because my mom has made me be responsible for serving the guests. She tells me, here are the cups, the tea, and sweets. I have to go somewhere real quick, but I'll be right back. Now, make sure you don't break anything and be careful not to spill any tea or burn anyone. She leaves. Oh, look, I see some guests coming now. Salam Khalajan, Salam Kakajan, Salam Khalajan. Would you like some tea? Tea? Sweets? They eat, they drink, they seem to be really happy. When they leave, I am so proud of myself. I did it. I contributed. I'm an important part of this family. Service in this way was a way of belonging for me and that I mattered. It gave me a great sense of joy. But as I got older, my sense of service became tainted, turning service into servitude. I remember when it first started to feel that way. The war in Afghanistan is not ending. Father says that we should meet him in Kabul, and from there we will walk across the desert to Pakistan. I remember the day we left home. A buggy pulls up. I hop in. My brother, my mom, my two little sisters, my uncle, and my cousins all hop in too. Whoa, there are so many people in here. But I don't care. I can't wait to start this adventure. As we're driving along, I look through the windshield. I see a man. He's holding a gun. Come out, come out. Everybody get out. Give me all your money, your jewelry. Give me everything. Right outside the car, I see a man. Right outside the car, I see a man crying. He looks so desperate. Oh, please, please, give me my vest back. Why won't you give it back to me? I believe he has money stitched up inside his vest. My mother starts to cry. Oh, give his vest back. He's just an old man. Why won't you give it back to him? My uncle starts to panic. Sarah, stay quiet. You're going to get a shot. But she keeps going. Just give it back. Now I start to panic. She's not listening to my uncle. I have to do something. It's up to me to keep us safe. I don't want to get shot. Please be quiet. She calms down. The thieves take everything they want before they finally let us go. When we arrive in Kabul, my father says, quick, we have no time. We put whatever belongings we have left on top of a donkey and we begin our walk across the desert. It's a beautiful evening sky. There are stars everywhere. I've heard that if we were to be caught running away, we can be killed. But I don't care. I'm just skipping along, far away from my family. Early morning, we take rest. I fall asleep. I wake up to a cry. It's dark and foggy. The stars have gone away. Oh no, it's happening again. I don't want to get shot. Modad, Modad, why are they crying? She tells me that it's the women that had to leave their men behind. They were left behind. I wasn't left behind. Why was I saved? What about all my cousins and my friends? What about all the other little girls that were left behind? What's so special about me? This moment left me with a deep sense of shame and guilt. Why was I worthy of being saved when so many others were not? In Pakistan, I try harder and harder to prove my worth. It becomes my job not only to protect my family, but to keep them happy. My older brother becomes a scapegoat of the family, so he would just run off and play with other boys his age. Home is not a safe place to be, but neither are the streets of Pakistan for little girls. I remember one time when my brother ran away. That night, my mother cries and cries. I tell her, "It's okay, Mommy. I'll go find him." That night, I go searching everywhere for him. Even though I know it isn't safe, it doesn't matter. I don't have to worry about me. What matters is that Mother is crying, and it's up to me to fix it. After what feels like hours, I finally give up and return home. Right when I enter, I hear the sounds of boys playing. I think I hear him. I run back out. "There he is! What are you doing? Come back home! Don't you know that Mother's been crying for hours?" I pull him by the ear. I take him inside, sit him down, and do what grown-ups would do to punish us in Pakistan. I put his head between his legs. I take his arms, put it around the outside of his legs so that he's pulling on his ears. Then I go get my mom. She's so relieved, but after she sees what I've done to my brother, she cannot stop laughing. It doesn't matter that I put my own life at risk. What matters is that I take care of my family. So this behavior becomes an excuse to neglect myself. And this continues when we move to the US. At the age of 9, I become the babysitter and translator for the entire family. More and more, I put my own needs to the side. I say, it's all going to change when I get married. But following the Afghan tradition of arranged marriages, my parents are determined to choose my husband for me. For the first time, I go against them. I choose my own husband. But it turns out that that doesn't really change anything. The pattern has been set. The habit continues. No matter how hard I try to fight against it, taking care of others is always the excuse to neglect myself. They need me, so I don't have time to take care of me. I'm not worthy enough to take care of me. As years go on and I become a mother, this self-neglecting habit takes a toll on my body and spirit. I become severely depressed and I'm sleeping all the time. One day, things change. Where's my baby? Where's my baby? Oh, he's there. He's fine. Where are the toddlers? Where are the toddlers? Oh, they're fine too. Oh, I feel like such a horrible mother. How can I be sleeping when they're all awake? And my marriage, it's falling apart. Not only do I not feel worthy of being awake, but I don't even feel worthy of being alive. When I look in the mirror, I don't even recognize myself. Who are you? The mirror speaks back. Do you remember what Rumi says? He wrote, "You are the honorable guest of Allah." To fulfill this role, you must embrace your own worth. You must see your own worth, embrace who you truly are, and give back to this world in your own creative way. But first, you have to overcome the survivor's guilt and shame. It's killing you. You've been like an orphan, abandoned and alone. Polish the mirror of your self-perception so that you can begin to see yourself and take care of yourself. Come back home, home to your heart. Your name, Rooya, means clear vision. How can you live up to your name if you don't see yourself worthy of your own vision? A vision of meaning and purpose, to serve those who also feel like orphans, hopeless, suffering from unworthiness. So live. Nurture you before you take care of others. Show up for yourself. After this come back home message, I decided to go on a healing journey back to myself. That's when I took the time to help myself and develop who I am. I read lots of books, attended courses, workshops, hired coaches and mentors. Now, every time that old habit of servitude creeps up, I see it when it's happening. I see it when it's coming. I am making a different choice. I want to be of service, not servitude. Today, I claim my worth so I can serve my purpose. I am healing shame with every step, with no more excuses. I am walking a path of honor. So this is my first time doing something like that, so bear with me, please. Amin. Yes. Oh, good idea. That's right. Thank you. So I shared this story with you today because I wanted you to see my journey and the struggles that I had with self-worth, and how my journey led me to discover the biggest deception of shaitan, and that is that you're unworthy. And the tool that he uses to make you believe that lie is shame. And I believe that the root cause of all suffering in this world, and there's lots of it right now, is self-worth, unworthiness, lack of self-worth. And you might say that I don't have any self-worth issues. But after what I'm about to share with you today, you may find that either you or someone you love might just possibly experiencing unworthiness. So shame is defined as a painful emotion resulting from an awareness of having done something dishonorable, unworthy, or degrading. A major effect of childhood trauma is the wound of shame. At a time when you have no resources or tools, not even the tool of language to protect yourself, your worth is put into question, leaving you powerless and feeling unworthy. Now, if no intervention takes place to heal you of that shame, to protect you from the outside world, such as your parents, what happens is that experience of shame is then saved or imprinted in your body as implicit memories. Now, explicit memories are memories of words, of language, right? You can recount memories that you remember with words. But implicit memories are memories of feeling. There's no way. Sometimes you get triggered and you have no idea because it probably something happened to you in childhood that you wouldn't have remembered because you didn't have the language to be able to store that in your brain as memory. And then all future experiences of shame thereafter actually reinforces the original feeling of shame. And it forces your body to defend itself through the adaptations of behavior, perception, and belief. So for me, my perception was that I wasn't worthy and that I didn't matter. My belief was that I have to protect my family and keep them happy so I can feel worthy, right? And then my behavior was to neglect myself. And then also, if I received success in any way, to not receive it and fall asleep, which is what was happening to me when I had my 3 children. They were the biggest blessing in my life, and I didn't feel worthy of those beautiful children. So my body shut down at that point. And I'll explain to you why that happens later. So what happens then is these adaptations also protect you from feelings altogether, because the feeling of shame is so painful that it's detrimental to your body. Okay? So then fear becomes a driving force in your life. You're always in defense mode. And that prevents you. And so when this happens, actually, this is when fear and your body stops you from feeling. I call that the lock of shame. The shame comes in and just locks your heart up. And if you ever heard of some of the ayahs of the Quran that talks about the heart and it being veiled, I really believe that that's shame. And then all the adaptations that come after it, I believe that that's shame. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking to your heart all the time, where He says, truly it is not their eyes that are blind, but their hearts which are in their breast. And you always hear at the end of so many ayahs, for those who reflect, for those who ponder. And if you look up the root word of ponder, it also means to reflect. You don't hear to think, because that's an intellectual thing. He's not talking to our minds, He's talking to our hearts. So if you're in defense mode, your body literally thinks that it's running away from a tiger. You don't have the luxury to slow down and watch this beautiful sunset, let alone pursue other successes in life. And your body has a good way of manifesting this fear of success. It's triggers, body sabotage, and compensation. So triggers are the resurfacing of the implicit memories of shame in your body. Words can trigger you, smells can trigger you, all kinds of things can trigger you. And that's why when people get triggered, they get so angry, or they get so sad, they get so upset. And it's these feelings that you don't even have words for that's resurfacing. And so when you try to pursue success that you feel, that your body feels, not you, that your body feels you're not worthy of, it's going to sabotage you. It's going to sabotage you through triggers. It's going to sabotage your mind to think this isn't a good idea. If you're interviewing for the job of your life, you're going to end up saying something very stupid that you knew was stupid, but you'll say it to sabotage yourself from losing that job, right? And then if you succeed in that success, if you actually reach that level, a level of success, your body will compensate for it. So for instance, how many times have we heard of people who win the lottery and then all of a sudden they get robbed or they get shot or they have a terminal illness that they end up using the entire money for to recover, or maybe they just die and the money is left to whoever else that ends up taking it because their body didn't feel worthy of receiving the blessings of that success. So what are some of the effects of shame? So one of the major effects of shame is hiding or feeling non-existent. It makes it very difficult to show up in life, show up in this world. For me, it was when I was always experiencing it, but every time I would reach a level of success, it would get worse. So for me, when I started getting involved in religious communities and activities, I started to feel like, oh, I'm not religious enough. I don't know enough about Islam. So it was safer for me to just be quiet and not say anything, because then I wouldn't be seen as an imposter. I wouldn't be rejected. But what that did was it made people not see me. It was like they couldn't remember me. So when there were invitations, when there were gatherings that everybody would get invited to, I was the last one to be remembered, if even remembered. So that was another confirmation for me that, oh, well, you weren't remembered because you're worthless. Why would anybody remember you? And then the wounded victim is the one who has been victimized by the wound of shame, who has been victimized and disempowered by the wound of shame. So what this individual they will try to seek power through victimhood. And because our society rewards victims, it's an easy way to gain power and control through victimhood. And we're seeing that all around, specifically right now. And so you can get your way if you play the victim, right? And it's so subtle sometimes that we don't see it. Like, I've done this, unfortunately. I'm guilty of this, where when my children wouldn't give me a kiss, then I would be all sad. Oh, poor me, you're not giving me a kiss. And then now I'm using guilt against them to make me, and my son's laughing, so they can feel bad and give me a kiss. It's so subtle. And so then what this does is you seek power through victimhood. You get sympathy. Sympathy is a shaming thing already, right? It's like, oh, you poor thing. And so then you experience more shame, and then it goes back in a loop. So you just fall into this vicious cycle. And then also, because you weren't given the opportunity to mature and become an individuate, you have this void inside of you, this emptiness that reminds you that you're worthless. So what you do is you fill it with self-destructive behavior. Self-destructive behaviors could be being on your phone all the time, people-pleasing like I did, trying to make everybody happy, right? And then these habits turn into self-destructive habits, which is addictions, right? All kinds of addictions, things that basically, so extreme sports. So many people have died from extreme sports because trying to fill that void, to feel alive, actually. And then when you have all these feelings that are pent up inside you because your body is refusing to allow you to feel, guess what that turns into? It turns into anger. And if it stays there long enough, it turns into rage, which is what I used to have. And then that rage will just unleash itself at all odds and times on anybody, your innocent children, your spouse, your loved ones. They end up feeling the worst of it, unfortunately. And then what happens with this scenario right here, and the superior victim attacker actually is a a term that was created by Sharon Ellison, who wrote the book Taking the War Out of Our Words. And I believe that this is where the oppressed, I don't know if you've heard of that, that this is where the oppressed become the oppressor. You were oppressed, now you're unleashing this anger, this rage onto others. And sometimes at a really big scale, unfortunately. And then if you do not let it out, guess what's going to happen? It's going to be internal. So you'll have all kinds of illnesses. I mean, imagine all these autoimmune diseases. They're all connected. So based on everything that I've shared with you today, what do you think might be the cost of shame? Can anybody come up with the cost? Something that you would lose. Yes. Yes, yes. Anyone else? Yes. Yes, exactly. That void, right? Your self-thought? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways that you could be thinking that you won't because of shame, right? Yes, your personality is shaped by shame, unfortunately. So that's why I had to take those steps back to myself to find out who I was and who I can then become. So some of the costs that I have are growth. The nervous system only allows you to grow if you feel safe. So if you feel like a tiger is chasing you, you're not going to be growing mentally, physically, emotionally. We lose billions of cells every single day. So even if you're not a teenager or a child growing up, as adults, we lose billions of cells every single day. Those cells are supposed to be replaced. But if you're in fight, flight, or freeze mode, you're not replacing those cells. That's why people end up having illnesses, because you're not feeling safe to grow. And the next thing would be abundance. So abundance of love, health, wealth, and success. And I feel like success includes all of those. So if you don't feel worthy of love, health, and wealth, and any other type of success, you're not going to receive it. Your body's actually going to trigger you to and sabotage you. And you won't be able to reach the level of success that you're trying to aim for. And then vulnerability. So in so many situations, we need to be vulnerable, right? But how can you feel safe to be vulnerable? You have to be, you have to protect yourself. So you're leaving yourself unsafe, right? And if you have avoided feeling emotions, you cannot be vulnerable without emotions. And then connections, like you said, requires vulnerability. So if you can't be vulnerable, you cannot create meaningful relationships with anyone. And then humanity, hence so much that's happening out there. How can you connect to the pain and suffering of others if you aren't vulnerable enough to connect, period, right? And then the highest success, I believe, is your connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you are fearing success, and that success is causing you to, and that fear is preventing you from receiving the success of the basic things, how can you receive the success of being connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And I was talking about compensation, how you see so many people that are outwardly very religious, but you might find, or they might find, that they're really struggling with connection because they're not feeling worthy of that connection. And so because we're talking so much about fear and safety, one of the things that I've learned is that when you receive new information, your body actually rejects or deflects the information that you receive. So it could be that your mind is like all of a sudden not here anymore and you're not understanding. It could be that you're completely disagreeing because your mind is having a hard time receiving this new information and you're not able to be open to this new information. So what I recommend right now, if if you would all like to do this with me, is a contemplative safety exercise. Okay, so make sure that your backs are against something. Try to put your arms around, just like not on your lap, but just next to you. And then say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Close your eyes. And just be grateful that you're safe. And then what I want you to do is, if there's a word for safety, whether it's in a different language that you resonate with, because it's so important that you resonate with the words. And I used to resonate only with the word safety, but I started resonating with the word or the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, al-Mu'min, which means the protector, the one who keeps you safe. But if you don't resonate with his name, then it's best to use the word safety or whatever word for safety that you have in your language that resonates with you, okay? So now pay attention to your body. Whatever you feel inside your body, don't try to change it. If there's tension anywhere in your body, don't try to change it. Just let it be and witness it. And then breathe into those areas that feel discomfort with, in your mind, with the word safety or ya mu'min or whatever other word that makes you feel safe. And you're going to keep doing this and then move on to another part that feels uncomfortable and breathe into there. Pretend that you're breathing into that area and just keep reciting the word for safety or ya mu'min. And pay in particular attention to your stomach and your legs. So from your solar plexus down, pay attention to that, because that's your fight, flight, or freeze mechanism, right? If you're in danger, that's what you use to escape with. And breathe into those areas that feel discomfort. And then I'm going to count to 5, and then just close your eyes, but do not move. Just slowly reorientate yourself and look around and see anything that you haven't noticed before. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Just look. You become more aware, and you will actually notice something that you've never noticed, even if you've been in this room all your life. So hopefully that made you feel a little more safe and receptive to what I'm about to share in the next half, inshallah. So now let's stop the shame game. What does that mean? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and surely we have honored the children of Adam. So shame is so pervasive and embedded in our daily lives that we're consistently shaming each other without even knowing it. One of the major ways is communication. So Sharon Strand Ellison, a friend of mine who wrote the book Taking the War Out of Our Words, says that we've been using the rules of war for communication, which makes perfect sense, because if you're in defense mode, you should be using the rules of war for communication. You're always trying to protect yourself, right? And she says that communication should be open and vulnerable, but you can't be open and vulnerable if you are constantly trying to save yourself from danger. And communication is so unique in the way that when you use it, there's tone of voice, there is body language, but then there's also words, the way we put words together. So for instance, if somebody's doing something that they really enjoy and you really don't think it's that great, you'll say something like, oh, good for you. So the oh, good for you, that statement's not the greatest statement, right? And the tone, it's automatically shaming you. It makes you feel bad for loving something that you love. Or something like, if somebody's upset with you, you just don't get it. So the stress on the you, the word just, and the stress on the word just is also shaming you. It's basically indirectly telling you that you're just so stupid, you just don't get it. And then to stop trying to seek power through victimhood, because it's not giving you power. It's just damaging you and hurting you more and more every day. And I really feel that Muslims have gotten shame and haya mixed up. I think that we've used shame to try to help each other become better Muslims, and we're doing the exact opposite. And that this reminds me of a hadith. I don't know how strong it is, so please don't quote me. Of story, not hadith, a story of the grandsons of the Prophet, peace be upon him, where they saw an elderly man who wasn't doing the wudu correctly, and they were debating with each other, how do we show him, without basically without making him feel bad, without shaming him, basically. And so what they did was they asked him, oh, we're going to make wudu, but we're not sure if we know how to do it correctly. Can you watch us to see if we know how, if we're doing it correctly? And when the man watched them doing the wudu, he realized that he was the one that was doing it incorrectly as opposed to them. And this was just a very sweet and gentle way of teaching an elderly man without having to make him feel bad about himself. And shame has to do with what other people think of you. So last time I remember, the song wasn't about necessarily what other people think. First and foremost, it's what Allah thinks about you, right? So, and then haya is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala thinks about you. So to me, shame is like the worst way to get people. People have actually turned people away from Islam because of the fact that they shame them, over something that they thought was, they knew better, or that they weren't doing incorrectly, and so forth. And then I believe that Islam teaches you that you are not your actions. That's why we're always being told, about good deeds and bad deeds. It's always your actions that are bad or good. It's never you. And when you change your actions, then you can change yourself. But you focus on the actions. So remove the blame and the shame from you. Put it on the actions, and the action is what you have control over. And then, of course, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has honored us as a humanity, then what right do we have to be shaming each other every day, right? And then, so the contemplative exercise that I did with you earlier was part of the work of a neuroscientist named Dr. Mario Martinez. Of course, I did some changes in there myself. He's the one that has said that honor is he calls it the healing field to shame. And honor is defined as the respect, esteem, or deference paid to or received by a person in consideration of that individual's character, worth, or position. The honored one is acknowledged by themselves and others as someone worthy. So, if you were to change and heal yourself from shame, I can write you books. I can sit here and give you this talk and tell you that shame is the worst thing. It's not, it's damaging your life, your marriage, your relationships, all of that. But intellectually, if it were to work, a heroin addict would hear me saying, oh my God, you're going to die from heroin. You need to stop. And they could go home and quit heroin overnight, right? If it was intellectual. But the problem is that it's not intellectual. This problem of shame is embedded in your body. So you have to work with your body. And I see your body like a horse. And it reminds me of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where he says that, teach your children 3 different things. And one of those is horseback riding. Because if our body is like a horse and we're riding this horse, if any of you have ridden on a horse, it's a beast. I mean, I rode it once and I was shaking because I was like, this horse can do anything and I could lose my life. But if you think about it, you know, our souls have been put into this body, which I call the avatar, and it's a horse, and it learned to take control. And it reminds me of a story of my son when he was doing taking horseback riding lessons, and his teacher told him to take the horse and put it in the stall. I don't know what you call it. Put it somewhere, and he was walking, but then the horse decided to lead him instead. And so next thing he knew, he was standing by a grass, and the horse was just eating grass. And so his teacher yelled out and said, "You're supposed to be leading the horse. The horse isn't supposed to be leading you." And so that's what's happened, is this big, huge horse is leading us, and we have to now work with the horse to take the reins back, to take back control of that horse. So now we got to work with the body. And one of the main ways, which you hear this probably all the time, is making istighfar. So remember the lock of shame? I feel like when your heart got locked, right, it also locked up every single one of your cells, because when you're in fear mode, you're not receptive. You're like this. So you're not receptive to abundance and blessings and everything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you. And so that's why I feel like istighfar is something that people, that we're told that you can never do enough of, and that is the best dua. And I'm like, Allah doesn't really need our forgiveness, but who needs our forgiveness more than anybody? It's ourselves. So it's just a way to give yourself permission to forgive yourself. So I feel like it unlocks every single cell with one istighfar. And if you don't have a practice of it, I recommend you doing 100. It doesn't take long. And make it just every day at a specific time. And you will be surprised how much difference that will bring to you in your life. And honor rituals. So I have this ritual of belonging that I do, which you can also do. In the mornings, if you can give yourself that moment and remind yourself that healing shame is very important, because it's going to make you become a better person, a healthier person. Right when you wake up, after you've done all your other du'as, put your hand on your heart like this, okay? And recite, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Why do I have you recite that? That's because a lot of us have problems with belonging and acceptance. But if you remind yourself that you belong to Allah, right? From Him we shall come, and to Him we shall return, is the translation of that dua. If you keep reciting that, and you recognize that you are a amana, a trust from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? So if somebody were to give you their child and say, please take care of him or her for a few hours, you wouldn't neglect them, you wouldn't starve them, you wouldn't abuse them, you would take very good care of them. So if you can remember that you don't belong to yourself, you belong to God, then you will remember to also take better care of yourself, right? So if you can make that a practice only once, if you can't even do 3, do it once every morning. Same time I always recommend, because then it'll trigger you to remember it. And then there's this other thing that I do, which is called the honor stance. And you can do this and carry this with you wherever you go, which is really great. And it's a great way of healing your shame. So if you can stand up. And stand up, and maybe I should just have you do it and not do it myself. So you stand up and drop your shoulders, relax the space between your eyebrows, relax your jaw, and then pretend that you have a kangaroo tail so that you can relax the lower half of your body. And then stretch out your head as if it's a giraffe. If you think about it, it's dropping all your defenses. So you don't want to put your head up. You want to put your head down, right? But then stretch it. So you're going to go like this. So drop. Sometimes when you do this, you end up pulling your shoulders back up. So drop your shoulders again. Stretch your leave your head just looking straight, but then stretch your neck. That's what you want to be stretching. I don't know if it's supposed to relax your nervous system and drop your defenses. So if you can keep practicing this and really getting it down, and you're welcome to sit down now, you can, whenever you feel triggered or whenever you know you're feeling shamed, you can do this dance and remember that Allah or God has honored you, and you can actually heal yourself from shame right then and there. Might take a little bit, for you to recover from it, but that stance will actually heal you. And then Dr. Martinez says that honor is healing to you and the person you're honoring. And if somebody's honoring you, they're healing themselves and you. So I work at an airline, and every passenger that I see, I've made it, I try my best to honor them. So I try to see them, right? Because shame makes you hide. I try to see them. That's why the Prophet ﷺ used to lower down when he would talk to children, because he was honoring them. If you're standing up and you're looking down at a child, it makes them feel small, right? So I do this practice of honoring people. I try my best to honor my loved ones. I try to recognize them, and so in that way, I'm constantly healing shame in myself, and I'm healing shame in others. And then there is a contemplative exercise that I will be doing at the end of the workshop that will be helping you embody gratitude, which is also another way of healing shame. And then finally, and then the next thing is self-care and commitment. So developing a healthy sense of self-worth requires body work, and then it requires self-care and commitments. And that means you have to start taking care of yourself. So you've been neglecting someone else's belonging. You don't belong to yourself. You have to start taking care of you. So one of the best ways is to do small, simple steps. And small, simple steps is designed to bypass the amygdala. The amygdala is your fight, flight, or freeze system. And the amygdala will always catch it if you do too much at once. That's why if you've seen people who do workouts and they go from 0 minutes to 3 hours, guess what? Their back starts to hurt, everything. Or even an hour, and they try to do it every day, it's too much. Then they just give up and they never get back to it because I tried that, it was too much, it was too hard, right? Or even people who become religious, and then they try to be like super religious overnight. Some people end up just saying, they end up having an identity crisis and saying, well, I'm not that great, so I can't be religious enough, so I'm not going to even bother. So even if you can give yourself an hour a day, great, but I know that's hard for most of us. If you can give yourself 30 minutes, to do something, to either just relax and do nothing, which our bodies need as well, or to do something that you love. So 30 minutes is not enough, do 20 minutes. 20 minutes is not enough, 10 minutes. 10 minutes is not enough, too much, 1 minute. And I actually have habits that I establish where I do 1 minute a day. and next thing I know, I'm doing more and more, but I'm giving myself the opportunity to take it slowly. And actually, when I fell into that deep depression, I used to recite the Quran and finish it all the time. And I just was like, my faith, everything became weak. And every time I would pick up the Quran, I couldn't get myself to read it anymore. It would be too much. I didn't feel worthy. So what I did actually was I started with 1 word a day. I couldn't not read one word a day. I had the book open and I would just look and read one word and I'd be like, okay, I did it. And next thing I knew, I was reading a line, an ayah, and from that it moved to phrases, paragraphs, and paragraphs moved to pages. And the next thing I knew, I did my first khatam after a while. So, and then community is so important because at this point, if shame is so rampant and everybody's shaming each other and everybody, I feel like, is experiencing self-worth issues, then community is very, very important. We have to find people that actually care and love us, people that encourage us, people that are helping us to become better individuals, and communities that are doing the same as you. And this is why I'm here. I want to create that community for us so we can be that current against the wave, that wave against the wave, because one person cannot do it on their own. So then I've come up with this path of honor, which is what I ended up my story with. And I use the idea of Simon Sinek. I don't know if you guys have heard of him, where he talks about, it's called Start With Why, the Golden Circle. And he says that people don't buy what you sell, they buy why you sell it. And he goes into how the why comes from the heart. And if you were to ask someone why anything, but why are you buying this, they'll sit there and write you paragraphs, but they won't really be able to explain to you because it comes from the heart. And so then he moves from the why to the how and then to the what, and that's what a successful business is. But I think this is also so what I've done actually is just tweaked this and made it your success in life. And I just want to let you guys know this, that for us as Muslims, Islam is the religion of success, because which religion calls out to you 5 times a day, come to success? It's Islam. And so I want that path of honor to be your path to success. So if you have your why right, so there's these. So meaning, purpose, and service is also taken from Dr. Martinez's teaching, which is that you need meaning, purpose, and service to have a healthy and happy life. So what I did was I just put this in this diagram. So if you have your meaning right, if you have your why right, if you have self-worth, you'll grow up to mature and individuate and find what your purpose is. So you living your why becomes your purpose. And then from there, when you put your purpose into service of others, that becomes the what? The service. And it always reminds me, this also reminds me of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where he says, whoever among you sees an evil action, let him change it with his hands. And if he cannot, then with his tongue. And if he cannot, then with his heart. And that is the weakest of faith. And I used to wonder, like, why? Why is that the weakest of faith? It's the heart. But that's because if the heart is diseased, which we also have in Islam, the diseases of the heart, right? Then it can't move. And it would be very difficult to take action, because that's the last thing that you would do. And then so I want you to now see what your potential is. So potential, going through this journey has really made me realize what it is to work on yourself. You know that, I don't know if it's a Rumi quote where he says that, I tried to change the world and, I wasn't able to, and he became older, and then he realized that if I had just worked on myself, I would have helped my family, and if I had helped my family, then it would move to the communities, to the cities, towns, and then the world, and then that's how I can change the world. And it was weird because when I was on my healing journey in the beginning, like the first few years, I was saying I want to change the world, and I actually said it by accident. I want to change the world, and then I was talking to myself, and I was like, change the world. Why would you be able to change the world? But subhanAllah, I really feel like my changing myself has really benefited my family. And that's why I'm here right now. If I could benefit my family, if I can heal my relationships with my children, my husband, and my in-laws and my other family members, then the same person that was so helpless and hopeless, all of us have that capacity to be able to first help ourselves and then eventually help the world. So, self, to be a better person, a better human, a better Muslim. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us to be the khalifas of this earth. We are supposed to be the protector of this earth and everything in it. But most of us are not taking that responsibility because we're not even able to help ourselves. So aim then to and strive to be that khalifa. And then finally, I had heard it from Sheikh Hamza for the first time about a mujaddid. And I thought it was amazing. And I was like, Sheikh Hamza must be one of the mujaddids, or is the mujaddid, because that's the one that comes and revives Islam every 100 years, right? And but then after a while, I heard a talk by some. He was a scholar. I don't remember who it was, and he said, "Why aren't we all aiming to be a mujaddid or a mujaddida?" And it really struck me, and I was like, could I ever be able to do something like that? And so maybe I won't, but I will certainly aim high and try to do that. And I think that we all have the ability to be able to change the world. And we can revive this religion in the service of helping and healing the entire world. We can. And so I'm going to now end with the embodied gratitude exercise, which is something that you can also carry with you, and you can be healing shame at all times. And, I'm giving you all these tools, and I would still ask you to be very gentle and start ease yourself into it. And one more thing that I forgot was the stance that I did. It's called Qigong, and it's I love Qigong. I've learned that it comes from the Way of Joy practice of a friend of mine, a dear friend of mine. Her name is Vicky Dele Joyo, and she has taught me that Qigong is it's a body work, but it's a spiritual body work. So, and it's really, really helped me with my my healing. So now we're going to do the embodied gratitude. I want you to close your eyes again. Remember, and just kind of pay attention to your body. Relax. Be grateful for your safety again. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Be grateful for your safety again so that you're receptive to the changes that you are about to make. And relax your eyebrows, the space between your eyebrows. Relax your jaw. Drop your shoulders. And pay attention to your body. And anywhere you feel discomfort, just breathe into or pretend to breathe into those parts of your body. And then when you're ready, I want you to remember a time that you were truly, truly grateful. Something happened in your life and you were very happy, or you accomplished something that you never thought you would, and you were very grateful that you did it. And now, as you're playing this image in your mind, pay attention to your body. Hopefully you're feeling some good sensations in your body. And just keep replaying it if you don't feel any good sensation in your body. Maybe it was the birth of a child. Maybe it was you graduating. Maybe it was you getting a wonderful opportunity for a job, anything. Okay, now you can open your eyes. So if you can hold this with you all the time, if something happens that you should be grateful for, and you hold this feeling of gratitude, you're going to be more receptive to abundance. So for me, the way I use this, one of the ways that I use this is if I find a penny on the floor, guess what I'm about to do? I do my embodied gratitude because I'm saying, Allah gave me a penny, an extra penny. I'm going to receive this penny. And then I look forward to more. And subhanAllah, it's amazing. I'll go home like a day or two later and some random check, you overpaid this bill. And I'll receive that abundance. Program yourself to receive abundance. There is abundance. We're just not receiving it. That's, you make dua, you make dua, you make dua, and you say your dua is not being answered. Your dua is being answered because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said He answers every single dua. But are you receiving the blessings of the answered dua? You don't know. So you're worth the change. And if you feel that I can help you in any way, you're welcome to contact me and do a 20-minute call. These are the different ways of getting in touch with me. And then because I was talking about community, I really want to create this community. So I created a special Telegram group for us. So you're welcome to scan this QR code if you have Telegram and join the community. If you don't have Telegram, you're welcome to reach me directly and maybe we can find another system of community, or just these gatherings that we're having together right now. I would love to have many, many gatherings after this, inshallah. And please make dua for me. Everything good that came from me is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And anything negative that was not helpful, it's from me. So please forgive me. And make dua for me. Oh, yes. And now you are welcome to ask questions if you have any questions. Yes. Oh, definitely. Because you just don't feel worthy. For me, my depression was unworthiness because I didn't even feel worthy of being alive. It just, for the moment I received 3 children, instead of being happy and grateful, I was shutting down. Thank you. Any other questions? Yes.
Since shame takes a toll on our body, mind, and spirit, how can we heal our body, then our mind, and lastly spirit?
How can you heal?
How can we heal our body, then our mind, and lastly spirit?
So this would be all these different ways of what I went through, right? In this day and age, everybody's talking about the mind. The mind is the body. You can't work with the mind without working. You can't work with the body at an intellectual level. So these are, I feel like when people are saying work with the mind necessarily, I feel like it's like taking the long way up. You should like who's the world's worst boss? You guys know who's the world's worst boss? The world's worst boss is you. That dialogue that's inside of you, right? So everybody is working with the dialogue inside your mind, not to be so not hurtful, shaming to yourself. Oh, you did it again. You're so stupid. You always do this. Who's talking like that to you all the time? It's you, right? You're always like, oh my gosh, you did it again. Why would you do this again? You've done it like 10 times. All your life, you keep doing this. When are you going to learn? That's the dialogue inside of you. That's also part of communication. So that's an aspect, but the body work is really important to do as well so that you can get a holistic healing.
So instead of just working separately on my mind and body and spirit, work on one thing.
No, you could work on your mind, but for me in the beginning, for you to even move, I feel like you're like a dead weight. You can't even move yourself forward in any way. And so for me, if you can do these body works, so all these different ways that I've showed you, it'll eventually give you the strength to then find ways of dealing with your thoughts and how your thoughts, you can change your thoughts, right? They say change your thoughts, change your life. But at the same time, you still got to do the body work. And your spirituality, for me, I have such a more stronger connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, when I did the gratitude practice at the end, because we started out with fear, and the antidote to fear is actually gratitude. I used to complain about my kids all the time. Oh, they're so this, they're so that. That's ingratitude. But I couldn't receive the blessings of them. So that was what I was doing. But now that I've done the work and I'm grateful, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if you're grateful, I will give you more, right? So now that I have a practice of gratitude as opposed to this fear game, I'm able to be grateful for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's blessing and have a deeper connection with Him. Any other questions? Okay. Alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.